Hey, Chantal Girardi here from Online Business Marketing. And today we are very lucky to have two disc profiling specialists coming to talk to us today around how to use disc profiling in order to improve your sales and marketing communication, which is fundamental. It is actually something that I noticed probably in around November last year, when a lot of the businesses that we work with were pitching on social media what their services and their products, and they were getting less of a response. And what we noticed is that with the looming recession, people were kind of getting freaked out a little bit, and it kind of slowed down how quickly people were making decisions. And then I explored the disc profiling thing and worked out that if we just changed the language that we used, or paid more attention to the language others use, and then talked to them in the language that they use, we were getting a much better result. So besides just looking at the customer journey and, the systems and the processes and the funnels and all the other marketing, jargon that we talk about, the language that we use was a very huge part of that. So very lucky today to have Doctors Ajit and Alfeen with us today, and I hope I haven't completely trumped the pronunciation of that. But they help individuals improve their communication styles, that they can be more effective and successful in what they do. Having worked extensively in the past 30 years across 3 different continents, that's wow, intercontinental, as pediatricians and general practitioners, respectively, my language, and being business owners, they bring a wealth of knowledge to the industry and offer multi-dimensional packages for businesses and individuals. And I love this, right? Because they're not marketers. Kind of like I always say, I am a marketer, but I'm not a marketer. I'm a business owner who found some holes in marketing, and I went and I filled those holes. And I think that that's exactly what you guys have done here too, with the history and the experience that you have in your industry. So they moved to Australia 15 years ago, established 2 large successful medical practices offering 23 services and almost 100 staff. And due to ill health, they have changed their circumstances and had to rethink their options. So they set up a consulting business. In addition to helping doctors set up medical practices as trained by John Maxwell, disc trainer and consultant, Ajit and Alfeen assists individuals to identify their personality and behavioral style, improve their communication skills by amending their own style to suit the preferences of the potential client, which I think is super important. You're not changing yourself. You are just communicating in a language that they are going to understand. Through workshops and coaching, they offer disc consulting to individuals, small businesses, organizations, high schools, university students, and couples. With the use of personality style mapping, they can help individuals identify not just their own style of functioning, but also that of others they engage with. Through the years, they've witnessed thousands of individuals utilizing DISC in improving communication and building connections with excellent outcomes. But here's the cherry on the top. Married for almost 30 years, so their communication must work. So there we go. There's social proof right there, credibility. And with two adult children, passionate about communication and building relationships at home and in the workplace. So that's really awesome. So good to have you guys here today. So I'm going to leave the floor to you. I'll very rarely interject if I just can't help myself. But welcome.
Thank you, Chantal.
Pleasure.
I'll just get the screen up.
Awesome.
Okay, I think we're good.
Everyone can see it? Yep, Angela, you can see it. You can see it. Yeah, cool.
Perfect. Everyone can see the screen, just confirming?
Yes, we can.
Okay, fantastic. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's program on how to discover a brand new way of selling. Thank you so much, Chantal, for this opportunity to share this information in your mastermind group. For everyone who couldn't get my name's Alfeen. I used to work as a GP, and I think working as a GP, I realized one very important thing, that people are my passion. As a GP, I used to be an empowerment coach as well. And like Chantel described it, there was a change in our life circumstances and I couldn't work as a GP anymore. So we just branched out into doing coaching and DISC training to individuals, businesses, high school students, and anyone who wants to understand their lives and learn how to live their lives with purpose. How do you sell using DISC personality profiling? Now, we both, Ajit and me, are sure that all of you will agree that selling is a skill, isn't it? It's a learned skill. Like some of us are probably born with that skill. Others, like me, I have learned the art by upskilling myself with training. Today's session, we learn all about the DISC personality profiling as a tool to sell effectively.
So I'm the other half, Ajit, and we basically moved here, as Chantal said, 15 years ago to Australia. And we have a passion to help people use personality profiling to their advantage. Now, we ran a medical practice and used the same DISC profiling over there and got good results. So our intention earlier of going for the training to the US was to help our staff, because we had 100 staff at the clinic. And now we thought we would use it as a business model to help other businesses who are struggling, managing the staff, managing, either themselves. It's even good for students and for couples, as mentioned earlier. In addition to this, the other thing I do is I help people set up practices. I help with the sale or refurbishment of practices and help with staff training and team building.
We've all been affected with COVID, isn't it? I mean, there's no doubt about it. There has been such a huge change with the way we look at things. A cost of living has gone up exponentially. Our rents, mortgages, groceries, insurances, we've been dipping into savings. I mean, people are not buying as much as they used to. There's been a whole mindset shift in the way people are spending their money. At some point of time, as entrepreneurs, we've all experienced frustration, self-doubt, disappointment over the challenges we've faced in the last couple of years when it comes to selling. I'm sure you'll agree that selling by far has becoming very, very challenging in the current environment. And this is where we bring a new perspective into the process of selling and marketing through personality profiling.
Take a look at these 4 very different animal prints. Any idea what each of them are? Yep, Angela?
Tiger, zebra, giraffe, and Dalmatian.
Perfect. You must be wondering why it's important to know this. Well, it could be valuable because knowing what to expect allows us to be prepared. So if you were to see just the previous slide, if you were just to see that in the bush, you know whether to run or to stay. Similarly, people have patterns too. We can use their personality types and these patterns in sales. Sales teams are the key players of any organization. As entrepreneurs and business owners, you're selling either a product or service that you have deeply invested in, both emotionally and financially. You'll agree with me that your livelihood depends on your sales. No matter how good your product is, without an effective sales pitch leading to a successful outcome, you'll be unable to remain competitive in an ever-changing marketplace.
Also, understanding different personality types has an important role to play, isn't it, in improving the effectiveness of any sales team. Whether you're the salesperson or you have a sales team, understanding personality types, like Chantel said earlier, it's so important because it's not just who you are, it's who you're dealing with. Now, in order to understand others, it's very important that you first have an awareness of yourself, isn't it? So then when you can understand your own personality style, you're then able to identify others, whether they're similar to you or different, and then you amend your communication style to suit their preferences, therefore making the sale more probable. It also helps you to influence others more effectively. And as we go into the different styles of DISC and the different variations, you'll understand that understanding these personality types can allow you to adjust your own style. It's not changing who you are, but you're adjusting your personality style so you can engage more effectively with those who are different from you. Like Chantel said, she's of one personality style, but she's got other people in her team who are of a different personality style. And together, they've brought a whole complementation of each other's styles and therefore get a good outcome, isn't it? So you help with rapport, you help with building your teams, and therefore you increase the chances of clinching a sale. Overall, that's our goal, isn't it? As entrepreneurs and business owners, we want a sale. We want our service to be recognized. We want to serve people. We want people to appreciate what we have. But all that's not enough unless we actually pitch the right conversation across.
Just a bit of history on this. This was not something that came about yesterday, but it's been observed since 400 BC. There were two scholars named Empedocles and Hippocrates, which probably is one of the names we would have probably heard associated with medicine as well. Now, they associated 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water, and classified people based on that. Hippocrates further took it to another level and used terms like sanguine, choleric, phlegmatic, and melancholy. These were the terms that he used to classify people. It's only in the 1920s that Carl Jung and William Marston actually further developed it. Carl Jung is the person who went on and created the Myers-Briggs test, which some of you might be familiar with. And Dr. William Marston went on to create DISC, the one that we are using now. Today, Maxwell DISC is the only instrument that is based on the leadership and communication principles of the expert by the name of John C. Maxwell and the Maxwell philosophy. He's a renowned author, speaker, and a leadership trainer who has written over 100 books and has sold over 20 million copies worldwide.
Now, coming on to DISC. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what DISC is, D-I-S-E stands for dominant, influencing, steady, and compliant. We've heard Chantel had a D and an S personality. We heard Angela having an I as an influencer. You also have the C, who's a compliant personality. So this is the DISC, D-I-S-C, like I said, stands for these 4 characteristics. Now, if you look at D and I, they are particularly outgoing in nature. S and C are particularly reserved. You could also have task-oriented people who have a D and a C characteristic, very task-oriented. People-oriented, I and S. I remember Rachel saying, come on, let's go, let's get to the bottom of this. Task-oriented, straight away, task-oriented. People-oriented would be, oh, let's have a chat. Let's talk a little bit more about this. Let me get to know you. That is people-oriented. So you could be a dominant and a steady. So you're both outgoing as well as reserved. So in situations where you have to be outgoing, you are outgoing. Or when you need it, you could be reserved and go into your little shell and get into your introverted, extroverted scenario. You could also be a completely people-oriented person, an I and a C, where you thrive in social situations. You love people. Your energy levels boom when you're with people. Or you could be completely reserved. You do not like to establish a lot of relationships. You like to stay at home. You're a very introverted person and only come out when the need arises. So basically, if you look at DISC, this is what it means. Just to go through it again, it's dominant, influencing, steady, and compliant. Outgoing, reserved, task-oriented, or people-oriented. Now, do you have anyone in your life who is very direct and task-oriented? Put them into this block straight away. Do you know people who are chatty, who love to talk, who are the life of the party, who wouldn't want to stop talking? And you'll find it very hard to get a word in between. Influencing. Someone who's very hardworking, very steady, not very keen on changing. They would take a mile. It would take them a lot of effort to change the route that they take to work every day. They'd go in the same route, do the same things every day, and would love that steadiness about life. Or someone who's very methodical and very reserved, someone who likes all their facts and figures, put them into this box.
Now, just briefly touching on the 4 styles, just like Chantel, I'm a D as well. And those people who are D-wired, there's only 3% of people who are D-wired. So that's your smallest group of people. They're very direct, they are decisive, they love to do things in a very organized, orderly manner. They like results, but they don't want to know how the results came about. They only like to see the final figure. If you take a D person, say to your accountant, they wouldn't want to know those 20 pages of jargon that's written there. They just want to see what the profit or loss is. They turn to the last sheet and they look at that last figure over there. So that's a typical D for you.
The I, or the influencers, make up 11% of the population. They persuade others by speaking. They're spontaneous, they're friendly, and they're often in the spotlight. If you have a salesperson in your team who's an I, you can just sit back and see the dollars coming in, because the I personality is your typical salesperson. They're persuasive, they're spontaneous, they're friendly. They are the best salesmen. Like, you can go into a car showroom and the guy who walks out and talks to you and wants to know everything about you before he even starts talking about a car, he's an I. He's very clearly an I.
Next is the S. Now, we wouldn't be able to survive if we didn't have the S-wired people, because they make up 69% of the people on the planet. So the S is very important because they are team-oriented, they are hardworking, they're great to follow through, they're loyal, and work best in a cohesive atmosphere. So the only downside of an S would be that, they don't like change. The minute you take their table from the room and move it to another room, all hell breaks loose. So you have to be careful about how you deal with S's. So it's a simple thing. If you know the person's strengths and weaknesses, you know how to deal with them. It's very easy and smooth flowing when you look at the day-to-day running of your business. And last but not the least is the C component. The C-wired people make up about 17% of the people. They're very methodical. They're very analytical. You give them a task and they will have a 50-page report ready for you in the morning. They are one of those people who love processes. They love to get everything. They like to dot their I's and cross their T's. But the issue here would be, again, if you have a boss who's a D, they wouldn't want to go through all those pages of hard work, They only want to see the final result. So you need to be tactful in how you deal with two people with these two personalities working under the same roof.
Okay, so with all personalities, we talked about the strengths. We'll also have a look briefly at what are the limitations of each personality type. With D, their greatest fear is being taken advantage of. So if they can smell a rat somewhere or even a whiff, they'll stop listening to you. If they feel you're not authentic, you don't get past. So because they have this inherent fear of being taken advantage of. So that is a big limitation that, they have. I's, because they are so loving the spotlight and so loving to meet people, their greatest fear is rejection or loss of approval. So they love to please people and they love to engage with people. And if there is a hint that they are being rejected or you don't approve of them, that would be their greatest fear. They would shrink back completely. S's, loss of security, is their biggest fear, and they hate confrontation. They are so steady, they would fly under the radar, do all the work, but the minute you confront them, that is outside their comfort zone, they'll withdraw. you lose productivity, you lose an employee. That might even force them to leave work because they were confronted the wrong way. So it's very important that you deal with your loyal S's who are so steady and so trustworthy, but dislike confrontation. You've got to deal with them very, very, very carefully. And C's greatest fear is criticism. They spend all this time and produce all this information. And the minute they come into a D's office and the D looks through all of it and picks up one fault, one mistake that they make, and if they're criticized, the C immediately fears that criticism and cannot work. And they'll feel unheard. They'll feel that they're not supported at work. And that would be their biggest problem. Now, as a GP, I used DISC, to be quite honest, and I can share with this on this platform. I used DISC with all my patients. If I had, say, for example, I had a patient who had high cholesterol and I knew it was a D patient, I would straight away tell them within 3 minutes, the consultation is done and dusted, because all they wanted me to tell them was what is the result? What do I have to do? What happens if I don't do what you're telling me to do? Give me the results. This is it. Okay, give me the script. I'm off. I've started my cholesterol, healthy lifestyle. I'll take my medications and that's it, done. Whereas if it was an I and an S, I would have had to build a connection, build a rapport, talk to them about what they're eating, what do they have for breakfast, build a 20 to 30-minute consultation on cholesterol, the effects of cholesterol, and then give them options. And then they'll come back in the next consultation to tell me what they want to do. If it was a C, I knew I was going to deal with the C. I would have printed out all the data, all the statistics on how cholesterol impacts people, how it has affected people, what is a percentage of people who die with cholesterol, what's a percentage of people who've had a stroke with high cholesterol, give them the paperwork, they go home, read the information, come back. You see how I've dealt with people? It's the same piece of information. The topic was just high cholesterol, but I had to use the personality profiling of my patients in order to build up communication, build rapport, build connection, and trust with them. So basically, we're looking at the importance of DISC awareness. The biggest gap is the gap between knowing and doing. So you know your personality style, you know your client's personality style. The gap rests in doing. It's vital that we learn these behavioral patterns and not just know them, but implement them to connect and communicate with others and to improve our relationships. I might share a story with you all. We had a client whose business, it was a small business. They had only about 8 people, but their business was going into pharmaceutical companies, like pharmaceutical large factories and businesses, and dealing with quality control, finding out whether they're making good use of infection control and the way they're making their medications and all of that. So this client had about 8 staff. 2 of them were for sales. And they were fantastic with making sales with large companies. But when it came to smaller pharmaceutical companies, they were just not able to make a breakthrough. So we went in to do the DISC training. And during the DISC profiling, we realized that both the salespeople were C-wired. Now, if you go back to the C-wired people, the C-wired people are very compliant, analytical, plan, and accurate. So these salespeople were not I by nature. They'd go into companies and talk about all of the importance of infection control, all of the importance of this. They would criticize the current existing companies, so much so that they had no further take on it. The companies that they were going to weren't engaging with them. Why? Because most business owners or most decision makers are D-wired. And D-wired people don't like people going on and on and on, don't like salespeople waffle about things. They just want direct results. They want you to come in and tell them what are you selling, why are you selling, how is it important for us, and move on. Whereas this company realized that their C-wired salespeople were not the best on the job. So we had to do a one-on-one coaching, taught them to change their behavioral styles to I when it comes to selling, taught them how to do the I style of selling, taught them how to identify their potential clients' style. So when they go in, within about 2 minutes, they knew whom they were dealing with. Was it a D, I, S, very rarely a C, but usually a D, I, S person, and they were changing their presentation based on who they were selling to. And now they have increased their sales output by about 60%, which is amazing. It's for us, it was the biggest testimony that we could have on a client achieving this with sales just by changing their selling styles.
Now, the Maxwell Disc assessment and reports, they basically raise the awareness of individuals by helping them understand their own style, the style of others that they are dealing with, and also creates an ideal environment where they can bring their best forward. They overcome limitations and teaches them how to grow to their best potential. The Maxwell Disc Personality Indicator report provides insight into the key disc areas. So when you do this, whether it's for yourself or whether it's for your company, we offer a 30-page report, and we give you a detailed insight into the 3 areas of the disc profiling. In turn, it shows you how you perceive yourself, how others see you, and how you cope under pressure. So these are the 3 graphs that are dealt with in detail when it comes to the disc profiling. If any of you would like to know your disc profile or would like to improve your communication style, whether it's for yourself or for your staff, feel free to contact us. Our email is there below, or the mobile number, and we can give you more info. This was just a gist on what this can offer each of you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was, yeah, absolutely amazing. So I might just say goodbye to those that are watching online. So for those who would like to attend live and then participate in the Q&A, which we will have offline, you do need to be a VIP member, and you can find a link in the comment below or in the bio on how to become a VIP member and join in the live chat that we're about to have right now about disc profiling, because I'm super keen to see who is what.